Hey, this is Janelle. I am the committee chair of the 2022 Quilt Show Committee for the Omaha Modern Quilt Guild. I just wanted to make a video to go over the details of our Spring 2023 show. So we are thrilled to announce that we are doing a show in the spring of 2013 that's called Modern Quilting on the Prairie. And this quilt exhibition is going to be a collaboration between the Omaha Modern Quilt Guild, the Gallery 1516, which is arguably the best art gallery in the greater Omaha area, and the International Quilt Museum, which really needs no introduction. So we are going to be having a show there in this beautiful gallery space in the Old Market from February until about Mother's Day of 2023. So this is going to be an extended installation or exhibition, and we're really excited about it. So I'll go over those details with you now. Our vision for the show is that we are going to have 10 categories, and the categories are talking about the main design elements of modern quilting, and those include improvisational sewing, minimalist design, use of negative space, piecing, handwork, alternate grid, modern traditionalism, scale, transparency, and applique. So we envision the show to be somewhere between 7 and 10 dual quilt installations. So what we're going to have is one quilt from each of that demonstrates each of these modern quilting techniques or aesthetic principles. And we're going to pair that modern quilt with one quilt from the International Quilt Museum's collection that has a relationship with that same category. So we're going to kind of show the old versus the new for each of those categories. So we're just going to be displaying one quilt per category. So how are we going to choose those quilts? Great question. I would love to tell you. We are going to be accepting proposals for quilt designs from Omaha Modern Quilt Guild members or small groups of members, maybe 2, 3, 4 people or so. And quilt those plans for the quilt proposals, that's the word I'm looking for, are going to be due on July 27th. Within about a week from receiving those proposals, we're putting together a panel. The panel will consist of somebody from the International Quilt Museum, somebody from Gallery 1516, possibly Patrick Durkee. He is the director of the gallery. We have a personal sponsor for the show who will be involved in choosing the quilts. More details on that to come. And then some members of the Quilt Show Committee. So the panel will look at all of the proposals and they'll choose the quilt that best represents or demonstrates that particular aesthetic value of modern quilting. And then the proposal that's selected, that person or group of people will be responsible for making that quilt to completion. And we need to have the quilts received by January 3rd of 2023. That's going to give us time to professionally photograph the quilts. We're making printed materials and a booklet for the exhibition taking place in the gallery, and just have other materials all ready to go, and it takes some time to set up the exhibit. So we could not be more excited to have this opportunity to work with this gallery in the Old Market. This is a chance for us to really elevate the work and to present modern quilting to the greater arts community. So in addition to having the main exhibition featuring these categories of modern quilting aesthetics, we are going to have a separate special exhibition that is called Modern Quilting on the Prairie. And so that's going to be a smaller exhibition within the greater show that is made up of quilts of any size that are inspired by the word prairie. So there's really a lot of flexibility. We'd love to see, all kinds of creative things. It could be landscapes, it could be improvisational prairie points. I mean, there's really a lot of directions you could take it. It could be just inspired by the colors, really anything. This category of the quilt exhibition is not competitive. But we do still want a proposal from you if you're planning to make a piece, no matter how big or small, for the Prairie exhibition within the greater show. And that's just for space planning purposes, and so we know kind of what to expect and to get back from folks. So I'm going to look at my notes here because there are some additional things that I want to cover. Oh, one thing that we had thought about in putting the show together is that group quilts is one of the least registered for categories at QuiltCon. One of our goals as a guild and as a quilt show committee is to foster and encourage involvement in QuiltCon and having people from our guild submit their quilts. And so we thought that encouraging small groups might be a great way to do that, because you could subsequently submit your quilt to QuiltCon for, I guess that would be QuiltCon 2024, since we'll be registering for those next year in 2023. So we would encourage you to do that. Size requirements. This is an important one. We are going to ask for a 240-inch minimum perimeter for the 10 categories of modern quilting quilt proposals. It can be any shape, but because we're only going to be displaying up to 10 quilts from our guild, we want them to make a statement. The exceptions to that are the handwork and the applique category. We are going to accept quilts that have a 160-inch perimeter minimum, again, any size or any shape. And that's just due to the increased time requirements for those two particular methods. All quilts will also need to have a hanging sleeve and have labels on them. So to reiterate, proposals are due on July 27th. What's a proposal? Well, let me tell you. A proposal is, we're going to have a Google form for you to fill out. Our fearless and innovative leader, Susie Bonder, is working on that right now. And we're just going to ask for, ideally, some type of pictorial representation of what your quilt might look like. It can be a fancy sketch that you made in computer design software, but it could be as simple as like a colored pencil drawing or anything like that. If your piece is going to be, let's say, improvisational, it's kind of hard to plan an improvisational piece, but why don't you show us the colors that you're thinking and kind of the thought process that you're wanting to use? What sort of shapes do you want to see? There will also be a place for you to put in a written description of your quilt. And we'd also like to know how you plan to quilt it. Does your quilting have a relationship with what you're trying to say with your quilt? Does it somehow advance the themes of modern quilting? Doesn't have to, but if it does, we would like to know about it. So proposals are due July 27th. We'll find out which quilts have been collected or selected a week later, and we'll try to have that announced by our August meeting. And then again, we're going to give you August, September, October, November, December to then turn your quilts in no later than January 3rd, which is our January meeting for the year. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was the opportunity to potentially sell quilts. Gallery 1516 is an art gallery. They're a not-for-profit organization, but they do put investors and art collectors in touch with individual artists if a piece of art is for sale and someone wants to buy it. The gallery doesn't take a commission. And again, what they would do is just put the buyer in touch with you, and you could arrange payment accordingly. You don't have to put a price tag on your quilt, but you certainly can. And we suggest that you consider doing it at art show prices because we're getting into the world of art collectors. And so that's an opportunity that we haven't had before. I did want to address the 2022 Block of the Month quilts that Megan is coordinating for us. I had previously mentioned that I wanted to display them at our 2023 show. With the timeline of our show happening starting in February, well, we felt like there was not enough time for people to complete and have a finished quilt for the Block of the Month for this year. It's a really important project, and we want to find another way to honor that, but we have to figure out what that is. It could be that maybe we'll participate in the Wolf Country Quilt Show again in 2023, or if that doesn't work out, we'll find some other venue to specifically honor those quilts, because I think they're going to look amazing together, and we have to show people what we're doing, because what we're doing is pretty awesome. I think that's it. We're also thinking of having a lecture for like an opening reception for our show, and we would have somebody from the International Quilt Museum come and give a talk, and so that's kind of in the planning stages. Again, my name is Janelle. I'm from the Omaha Modern Quilt Guild. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. My contact information has been sent out through guild emails. If you're a part of our membership, you would have gotten that list. And you can always find me on Facebook. So thank you so much and happy quilting.